The reactions to Man of Steel and Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice was mixed. It divided fans, critics, and even the general audience. Some of the criticisms that both these films share are that the characters are shallow and too much style over substance. Specifically, the character of Superman was criticized as dark, gloomy, and uninspiring. But I am a huge fan of both Man of Steel and BBS. I think they are artfully constructed independent movies disguised as summer blockbusters. One of the reasons for this is how the filmmakers handle the Superman as a character. This is an analysis of how each character influences the Superman and how he shapes to be an inspiring figure. My objective here is not to criticize the haters. I do respect everybody's opinion about a movie. Rather, I would like you to take this journey with an open mind, and I'm sure you will be pleasantly surprised by how much depth these characters have in these movies. Jor-El gives one of the significant character traits of this version of Superman, the element of choice.
Your mother and I believe Krypton had lost something precious. The element of choice.
This certainly works well within the movie, but it is also a meta commentary against the preconceived notions of our heroes. Over the years, we have established certain character traits for our heroes, especially with our superheroes. We have read, watched, and loved these superheroes exhibit these character traits from our childhood days. So, when these traits were not followed, it feels like a betrayal to us. Like George says against the natural birth, we react to the birth of a new character, us.
Heresy!
If we assume God as a collective consciousness of a society, then anything out of the ordinary is Superman. It hit home the point that preconceived notions of a society were a threat to anybody who is different.
The symbol of the House of El means hope. Embodied within that hope is the fundamental belief in the potential of every person to be a force for good. That's what you can bring them.
Superman, as a symbol of hope, is portrayed in these films in a very literal way. An alien who has the power of gods but chooses to remain humble and to do well. This should be reason enough to give people hope. Unfortunately, it also makes some people to go bad, which we will see with Lex Luthor and even with Batman to some extent. But Superman sacrificing his own life should bring people hope, and it is the spiritual reason for forming the Justice League.
Oh, Clark, you have to keep this side of yourself a secret.
What was I supposed to do? Just let him die?
Maybe.
Lot of the viewers interpreted this scene as Park Kent doesn't want Clark Kent to become Superman. He never said to Clark to hide his powers throughout his life. He foresaw how the world would react when they found Clark's power, and judging by the events in BBS, he is proven to be right. Imagine a young Clark is exposed to the world as Superman. Would he be able to handle all the doubts, worships, and the consequences? This scene gets me emotionally every time I watch. One of the reasons for that is how genuine Kevin Costner and Henry Cavill's performance in this scene. Just like his father's horror story, for every good deed he does, death and destruction follows. Saving the world from Zod ends up being bad for some people like Wallace. When he tries to show that he abides by man's laws, the courtroom gets blown up. Whatever our intentions are, we cannot predict or control the consequences. How joy and suffering are synonymous to one another. Learning this is a very important character evolution for Superman. It is very clear that Clark is not a normal child, and we all know how difficult it is to be different in this world. Clark is afraid of his powers. Martha calms him, nurtures him, and teaches him to hone his skills, which Clark himself admits in a fight with Jor.
The world's too big, Mom.
Then make it small. Just, focus on my voice. Pretend it's an island out in the ocean. Can you see it?
I see it.
Then swim towards it, honey. The truth about you is beautiful. We saw that the moment we laid eyes on you.
This is for anyone who still thinks kids don't want Clark to be Superman. Martha understands how special Clark is and also the complex nature of the world we live in. She sees her son as a bright light and a messiah for hope. Clark saves the world twice. He continues to use his powers to do good, and the world still questions him and do not trust him. In this scenario, isn't this the most motherly thing that a mother can say to her son?
Be their hero, Clark. Be their monument, be their angel. Be anything they need you to be. Or be none of it. You don't owe this world a thing.
A damsel in distress for Superman. But that's what critics would like to say about her character. While she does fit into that, she is much more than that. Right off the bat, she is shown as an investigative reporter who is willing to take any risks. If you look at all of his scenes in both the films, not once she was shown not being a reporter. Yes, she constantly needs to be saved, but not because she is dumb or clumsy. Rather, she constantly investigates dangerous operations which put her in harm's way. She figured out the identity of Superman by herself. She helps to defeat George's plan. She figures out Leg's plan when Batman himself was deceived. And she was integral in stopping the fight between Batman and Superman. Lois likes the mild-mannered Clark, but also attracted to the Superman. Superman enjoys toying with the feelings of Lois, which is shown as a light-hearted fun. Eventually, Lois figures out that the guy he likes is the hero all along. It is a love triangle that has the potential for lots of fun moments and was exploited in the previous versions of Superman stories. But does it add anything to the themes and character portrayals of this movie? No. Here, Lois is shown in love with Superman as a whole, not in parts. That's refreshing and it adds a lot of depth to their relationship. Lois and Superman have an almost telepathic relationship. This is so evident in Africa rescue scene. She knew what Superman is going to do even without a words being uttered, and she takes her hands off the general. This silent understanding is shown throughout BVS, and it adds so much to their final scene. Lois figures out that Superman is going to sacrifice himself without any dialogue. While the whole world splits into worshipping or loathing him, Lois's love and care helps Superman to connect with humanity.
I exist only to protect Krypton. That is the sole purpose for which I was born. And every action I take, no matter how violent or how cruel, is for the greater good of my people.
Jord is a decorated warrior who understood the failure of Krypton. But unlike Jor-El, he didn't accept the reason for the destruction. He simply wanted to rebuild the way the Krypton was. He was willing to commit genocide, but the reason for that is not world domination. He simply wanted to rebuild Krypton.
My soul. That is what you have taken from me.
He was not fully evil until his last fight with Superman, where he had no purpose. He fights with Superman, causes destruction, tried to kill an innocent family for no reason other than rage. By then, he was not a warrior anymore. He becomes a monster. Doomsday is just a physical representation of his mental self. He plans, and he plans. He is a master manipulator. He collects information about metahumans and tries to convince Senator that metahumans are a threat to Earth.
What does a rock have to do with Homeland Security?
Homeland Security? No, ma'am. Planetary security.
Framed Superman in the African incident, thus making Superman a controversial figure among international politics. When it becomes clear that Senator Finch will not side with him, he staged the Capitol bombing and most importantly made Superman a controversial figure among the public.
If Superman was not involved, if he's got nothing to hide, then why hasn't he been seen since the day of this tragedy?
You can't point a finger.
I'm not pointing anything, Warren. Look, 10 fingers, see?
He even made Superman to doubt himself.
No one stays good in this world.
He orchestrated the fight between Batman and Superman over a period of methodical manipulation and used the distraction to create Doomsday.
Problem of you on top of everything else. You above all. Because that's what God is. Horus, Apollo, Jehovah, Kal-El, Clark, Joseph, Kent. See, what we call God depends upon our tribe, Clark Joe. Because God is tribal. God takes sides. No man in the sky intervened when I was a boy to deliver me from Daddy's fists and abominations. I figured out way back. If God is all-powerful, he cannot be all good. And if he is all good, then he cannot be all-powerful. And neither can you be. They need to see the fraud you are. With their eyes.
The confrontation between Superman and Lex in Helipad is one of the brilliantly written scenes in any film. Those who say that they cannot figure out Lex's motivations, they should revisit this scene. The depth of the dialogues uttered in the scene has an hour worthy of discussions. In simple terms, Lex sees Superman as a god and he hates God. Lex is evil, but he is not wrong to question the existence of Superman. From a human's perspective, are we supposed to trust this alien with superpowers? How long can a superpowered alien be good? Just the existence of Superman itself poses a big problem. It also brings an unbalance in human evolution. Superman is tribal since he is an American. There is no amicable solution to this problem. So he wants to prove the world that either Superman is not good or Superman is not all powerful. In a way, he achieves this when Doomsday kills Superman. The infamous Martha scene. I'm sure at this scene, many viewers and critics shakes their head and said this movie sucks. I did not. I thought this is one of the emotionally constructed scenes in the entire comic book movie genre. Even in my first viewing, I did not get the feeling that the fight ended because their mothers have the same name. I knew it is much deeper than that. Batman is in a pretty dark place. The 1% argument he said to Alfred is just a rationalization of him wanting to take down Superman, rather than the actual cause. So why did Batman really want to fight Superman? Because Batman feels powerless by the existence of Superman, the same way he felt powerless to save his mother. It is one of the reasons that we were shown Bruce's parents' murder. This is very clearly shown in Bruce's nightmare scene where his mother's death still haunts him. Batman didn't end the fight when he heard his mother's name. He got confused and angrier, which prompted him to ask repeatedly,
Why did you say that name? Martha, why did you say that name?
He didn't even lower the spear at this moment. It was only when Lois says that Martha is Superman's mother's name, he begins to put the pieces together. For the first time, he sees Superman as a human rather than an alien who caused the collateral damage. For the first time, he realizes Lex's role in this fight. That's why he ended the fight. And he did save Superman's mother, thus closing the Batman unable to save his mother's arc to a satisfying conclusion. Batman is lost in his own darkness for a very long time. Superman's sacrifice redeems Batman from the darkness and gives him hope. It is an incredible achievement for a Superman as a character. Bruce's closing monologue to Diana shows how much the death of Superman changed Batman to the lighter side. He is ready to embrace the light and work with others to defend humanity from the impending darkness. I have always thought Superman was overpowered and a bland character. That is, until I saw these movies. The biggest achievement that the filmmakers had done with this character is to create new Superman fans like me. I was and still perplexed by how many people criticize Superman for not saving people. He saved many people throughout his life, and it is one of the reasons that he could not stay in a stable job. He also did save the whole planet on multiple occasions. I think one of the reasons that the viewers think Superman doesn't save is because, unlike most of the superhero films, the savings were not highlighted. For instance, take the Day of the Dead sequence. Superman is saving a child from a burning building. The usual blockbuster film would have made it as an action set piece and it would have ended in public adoration for our hero. Here, though the public adored Superman, the action of him saving the child from the building is not shown. Rather, the focus is on Superman becoming uncomfortable with public adoration. While the action set piece would have added a fun sequence to the film, the somber approach adds so much depth to the character and the film's overall theme. In fact, the whole saving monologue from BVS is shown in a dark tone with somber music. This is one of the many times the filmmakers wisely chosen to highlight character arc and themes rather than a fun action set piece. Humility is one of the hallmark character traits of Superman, which was shown consistently in both movies. He took a leap of faith in humanity and surrendered to them. When the military shoots at him in Smallville, he earns their trust by saving them.
This man is not our enemy.
When a nuclear bomb is directed towards Doomsday, when Superman is holding its neck, he is not mad at the military for trying to nuke him. Instead, he kills Doomsday by sacrificing himself and saves humanity again. He even saves Lex Luthor hours after kidnapped and threatened to burn his mother alive. Equally controversial is Martha scene. Lots of fans turned off by this. Superman in this film is not a dark character. He still has humility, earns to save people, sees good in people, willing to die, wanting to inspire. Only the world has changed. Superman was constantly put in extraordinarily difficult situations, forcing him to make a difficult choice. Killing Jord was a choice. Like Parkin's death scene, you can come up with many scenarios where Superman does not have to kill Jord, but you're missing the point. The point is to write a scenario where Superman chose to kill Jord to save humanity. People think Superman as a god or devil character. Some people think of him as a messiah and worship him. People like Lex thinks Superman is a devil in disguise. He says to Senator Finch,
The devils don't come from hell beneath us, no. No, they come from the sky.
this creates a problem. I know the Moses and Jesus allegories and Bible references throughout these films, but I think those were meant to be an interesting storytelling choices rather than a depiction of a Christian God. Superman is not a god or devil character. He is just a man with superpowers who wants to do the right thing. In my view, Superman is portrayed as a better character than any of the godlike figures. Superman's humility does not restrict his thirst for justice. He constantly fights with Perry to cover the right story. He is clearly bound by journalistic ethics and actively pursued against Batman's violence justice. He is the spiritual reason for the Batman to form Justice League. Even now, the society is not fully accustomed to an introvert. They are still treated as an outcast. So if you are making one of the most iconic superhero as an introvert, you are asking for trouble. But for the themes and character traits shown in these films, an introverted Superman feels just right. He doesn't talk much, but he listens carefully to every reaction of mankind towards him. Remember in Man of Steel, Superman chose to destroy a Kryptonian ship and stands proud in front of the human race.
Stop! If you destroy this ship, you destroy Krypton! Krypton had its chance!
He took a giant leap of faith with humanity. But humans refuses to share the same leap of faith. Lex Luthor ensures wherever Superman goes, death follows. Whatever good Superman does, the unintended consequences are much worse. This makes Superman to doubt his role in this world. Understandably, he doesn't want to be Superman anymore.
Superman was never real. Just the dream of a farmer from Kansas.
I have already talked about how crucial this modern scene is to the character of Superman. Pa Kent explains that his anchor to this world is Martha, his wife.
Did the nightmares ever stop?
Yeah. When I met your mother, she gave me faith that there's good in this world. She was my world.
Superman then realizes that his anchor to this world is Lois. Yes, the world is still mean to him, but Lois gives him hope. He realizes that the world is worth saving and worth dying for.
This is my world.
No, Clark, don't.
You are my world.
No. Please. Clark!
Superman can be used as a metaphor for so called superpowered nations. Should Superman act across the borders? Should the superpowered nations interfere in the issues involving third world countries? Should those nations play any part in the developing these countries? If so, how much involvement? These are very significant questions which are not easy to answer. Points to the writer to even dare to ask these questions in a superhero movie.
Are you, as a United States Senator, personally comfortable saying to a grieving parent, Superman could have saved your child, but on principle, we did not want him to act?
I'm not saying he shouldn't act. I'm saying he shouldn't act unilaterally.
What are we talking about here then? Must there be a Superman?
There is.